Welcome to the fourth module in the Get Licensing Ready track, which helps you to prepare for the Software Asset Management Exam 70-713, which was released in April 2017. There are 5 modules in this track, which takes you through all of the topics in the exam. Let's take a look at those now. Here are the modules, and you can see some percentages aligned with each module, which show you the estimated amount of questions that there will be on each of these topics in the exam. Each module has a video to teach you the necessary topics if you're new to software asset management, and an exam to check that you remember the key points and that you can apply your knowledge to scenario-based and factual questions. Now, your preparation for the exam might consist of watching all of the videos and then trying out the questions, or just working through the exams to see if you have any areas of weakness. Of course, you can watch the videos at any time you want to. So what's included in the exam? The content of the first module is understanding what the SAM optimization model, or SOM, is and how it's used to assess an organisation's SAM maturity. Now, this is a good module to start with since we refer back to SOM in all of the other modules. Module 2 is entitled Manage Software Licenses, and it takes you through the main activities of a SAM baseline review. So that's collecting inventory and licensing entitlement information and performing a reconciliation. Module 3 goes into depth in some of the areas around data collection, and we look at topics such as ensuring completeness of data and resolving inventory discrepancies, as well as managing SAM reporting requirements. Then Module 4 is about setting up a SAM program and making SAM part of the infrastructure of an organisation. We'll start in a moment with this when we'll look at the importance of securing executive sponsorship and funding, and then how to design, implement and maintain a SAM program, as well as creating and maintaining a SAM program improvement plan. And finally, Module 5 is about managing the software asset lifecycle. And we'll look at managing request, acquisition, deployment and retirement processes, as well as how to track consumption and how to optimize assets. But let's get started with the content of Module 4. As we've said, this module is all about getting a SAM program up and running in an organisation and maintaining and improving it into the future. So the first step is to secure executive sponsorship for the SAM program. This will include identifying stakeholders and creating proposal materials to ensure that there's explicit executive authorization for the SAM infrastructure with policies and overall corporate governance. It's also the time to secure funding by creating a project plan and budget where operational costs in terms of both consulting hours and employee time are estimated so that funding can be obtained from each infrastructure group for each task associated with managing a SAM program. Whatever proposition is placed before senior management to secure the approval for a SAM program, it has to be in the language that the business uses on a daily basis. Talking of core counts and user licenses and cloud, we'll have non-IT directors very quickly losing interest in approving expenditure for what seems to be an IT matter. Making the proposition uniquely about the business of the business is a good strategy indeed. And demonstrating the business benefits of SAM is important, of course. You can see a list here. Choosing the right benefits to present to the right teams or stakeholders is important. For instance, cost savings resulting from eliminating ad hoc purchase of expensive software or the ability to retire licenses may be the right things to talk about to an IT department with a limited budget, as might increases in operational efficiency as manual processes are automated and standardized, and it's easier to prepare for technology upgrades or respond to tech support requests. Most stakeholders will be interested in making better decisions, and that's either in the boardroom at a strategic level, how much will that operating system upgrade project cost us, or day to day at a tactical or operational level. If 5 people leave a project, are there any licenses we can reuse? Reducing risk is important to the CFO, who knows that there won't be big bills to pay when there's an audit or review, and that financial penalties and legal costs associated with non-compliance can be avoided, but actually might be equally important to those who are responsible for caring about the business's reputation and the potential damage to that could arise from a lawsuit. A disaster recovery strategy might traditionally be owned by the IT department, but being able to recover more quickly from any type of loss has wider appeal within a business, and everyone's going to enjoy trouble-free software and IT systems, of course. And in example, HR may well be relieved that at last they can guarantee to users that they will be able to access the software they need when they need it. As the task of designing a SAM program gets underway, it's important, of course, to define goals for the SAM program. This will include identifying the resources and objectives for the SAM program. What resources are in place? What are the resources that need to be brought in? What are the SAM goals that need addressing by the program itself? And all of these will need to be in the context of the individual organisation so that there's close alignment with the organisation's specific requirements. But it's also a great time to talk about an organisation's future plans and business goals. This might include considering new or improved acquisition strategies. Is now the time to consider an enterprise agreement, for example? An EA offers many benefits to a customer who can count all of their desktop devices and commit to covering them with Windows, Office or CalSuite licenses. And this type of desktop standardisation does generally make for easier management, as well as making the organisation eligible for best pricing from resellers. But it also gives the greatest flexibility in terms of what you can do with the software. If required, you can make use of downgrade rights or upgrade the software to the newest version whenever you want to because of the inclusion of software assurance, or SA. And it's this SA that also means that rather than just deploying software in the physical environment, you can make use of a virtual desktop infrastructure if that suits the business better. It might be the time to look at new technologies too and consider whether perhaps there are plans to upgrade parts of the infrastructure. We talked about the MAP toolkit in Module 2, and this is a great time to mention it again, since it does have tools for inventory or assessment, but also tools for planning. And in fact, it's used extensively to help organisations as they plan IT projects. Could be, for instance, an operating system upgrade to Windows 10. The MAP toolkit can perform a detailed analysis of an organisation's hardware and then determine if migration is recommended. If it's not recommended, then reports are available to provide information about why it isn't. Or perhaps a business is interested in server consolidation and virtualization through technologies like Hyper-V. The MAP toolkit helps to gather performance metrics and generate server consolidation requirements that can identify the candidates for server virtualization and even suggest how the physical servers might be placed in a virtualized environment. And of course, many organizations are planning, or at least considering, a move to the cloud, and the MAP toolkit can help plan for cloud solutions too. Sometimes, of course, a move to the cloud can be driven by a desire to simplify the licensing. Let's take Office as an example. With a traditional Office Professional Plus product, it's a device license, and a license must be assigned to a device and tracked. If a user needs to use Office on more than one device, then additional licenses are required. However, if the Office applications are licensed with an Office 365 Pro Plus license, then that's assigned to a user and they can install the software on up to 5 devices, and that's managed by the cloud. If an organisation is ready to extend their server farm to Azure, then Infrastructure as a Service solutions means that a virtual machine running in Azure is charged on a consumption basis. So if a virtual machine is required for a short-term project, this is an ideal way of licensing it, since when it is stopped, it doesn't incur charges. Compare that with an on-premises solution. If you stop the virtual machine, you've still got that expensive hardware you paid for and the licenses for the products that aren't needed at that moment in time. With both of these examples I've chosen, of course, there's some simplification of management too. When services are run from the cloud, the IT burden is likely to be reduced and on-premises hardware costs may also reduce. Now to implementing the SAM program. The types of things that it's important to include here are firstly creating a SAM stakeholder group to oversee the project and then getting going with the project itself. starting with assessing and benchmarking the current state of SAM. And in Module 1, we looked at using the SAM optimization model to do just that. Most organisations will start at the basic or standardised level and will work towards dynamic SAM, but moving through just one level at a time. Starting small and growing big is just fine. And then it's about going through the activities that we looked at in Module 2, collecting inventory information by implementing technology to support asset discovery, to enhance purchasing processes, to include storage and retrieval of license entitlement information, and then doing the initial license and cloud services reconciliation. Then creating the policies, procedures and processes that will support the SAM efforts and securing support from all the relevant departments. For businesses starting from a position of low maturity, then a good strategy is to look out for small wins that can offer visible or tangible benefits to the business. It could be the visibility of the installation base or a greater control of software spending, for example. Implementing SAM is as much about influencing working culture as it is about arriving at that bright and shiny ELP. And finally, educating employees as to the new SAM policies and procedures so that they can start to be adopted. In the maintenance phase, the SAM staff are running the software asset management program on their own and to the satisfaction of the business. It's monitored and run by KPIs, or key performance indicators, associated with the processes that sit between the stakeholder staff and the technology. This will involve producing quality and validated reports to within agreed SLAs and ensuring that the data that sits behind those reports is as full and complete as possible. As maturity increases, SAM processes will be standardized across all domains and organizational units of the business. And there's a need to provide ongoing SAM awareness training to continue to promote SAM within the business and to make sure that the new processes are adopted and understood, and that there isn't a reversal back to old behaviour. As an example, perhaps employees are buying software on their credit cards rather than using the new centralised purchasing process. And the final part of the story is about creating and maintaining a SAM program improvement plan. Without wanting to sound trite, it is true to say that software asset management within a business is a journey, not a destination. There's probably nobody interested in an ELP from 6 months ago. It could hold little or no relevance as to what the IT estate looks like now. Of course, it's the ever-present challenge of coping with change that means as soon as that ELP report leaves the printer, activities within the IT estate start to erode the accuracy of the report. It is important to have a clear idea of what good, better and best look like when it comes to the various aspects of the SAM programme. There could well be a drive to attain 100% efficiency with all SAM processes and capabilities, but every business should conduct a cost-benefit analysis to understand that if they attain that new percentage of improvement, the improvement can be reflected in tangible business benefits as well. For example, what is the optimal frequency for generating an ELP report, or how frequently should you recycle software? There is a SAM improvement plan competency with a simple question: does the organisation have one? And down at the basic level, there is no plan, which is then in place at the standardised level. By the rationalised level, there is SAM improvement demonstrated, and as the dynamic level is reached, SAM goals are part of the executive scorecard and reviewed regularly. That concludes our fourth module in the 70-713 exam preparation track. Your next task, as usual, should be to take the short test associated with this module to check that you've understood and remembered the key points and that you can apply your knowledge, and that's in scenario-based and factual questions. Then join me on the last module, which you can see is entitled Manage the Software Asset Lifecycle, and it covers managing request, acquisition, deployment and retirement processes, as well as how to track consumption and how to optimize assets.